Hello and welcome back to Shelf Centered. This is Bryce, and today I'm bringing you another installment of Top Shelf News. This is where we talk about science fiction, fantasy, in either books, media, however it comes up, sometimes video games, and then maybe give a quick channel update at the end. So with the media portion, we'll get my thoughts on the Rings of Power show, the first 2 episodes I have watched, and I'll give you my initial thoughts. So let's just jump right into it, right? All right, first big news. I like to go into the books. That's what's the important part, right? The TV and other media just doesn't reach the heights of what a book can really do, and so that's the height of all the media, of all entertainment, for me at least. So biggest news is Janny Wurts just announced she is working on the final edits to chapter set 17 of her Song of the Mysteries, which is the final book in the 11-book Wars of Light and Shadow. That means there's only one more chapter set to go. That is chapter 18 after these kind of final little touches here. So we're getting so close to a finale, a final the final book and the complete series of the Wars of Light and Shadow, and that's extremely exciting. I've been loving the series for many years now, and so this is really exciting to get an ending and to hear it really just moving along. So how chapter sets work in the Wars of Light and Shadow is you essentially have 3 chapters per chapter set, plus a 3-paragraph, 1 page, just all on 1 page, but a 3-paragraph kind of summary of kind of where we're at along the different storylines. So it's really interesting. It's definitely unique. I had not come across this before, but or since. All right, a book that I have been anticipating and looking forward to is Sons of Darkness by Gaurav Mohanty, and I apologize for mispronouncing that if I have at all. There is a great fantasy book critic interview on the site, so definitely check that out. Really looking forward to that book. It keeps getting a lot of hype, and the more hype it gets, the more I'm like, well, then I definitely have to have it. So I'm excited for that, and definitely will be checking that one out one day. All right, in other book news, there's Brandon Sanderson was kind of talking about, you can't go Top Shelf News without some Brandon Sanderson news, right? I'm sorry, or you're welcome. Either way, I can't help myself. But anyway, in Brandon Sanderson news, his name essentially came up in this whole antitrust lawsuit against Penguin, Random House, and Simon Schuster. They're trying to get together. The SEC has said, whoa, 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 this seems like you're pretty much taking over all of publishing, and they're looking out for consumer rights, right? And are consumers really going to be affected by essentially what's already become 2 of the big, huge houses, Penguin and Random House? And we all are, and I love how Sanderson points out what we were all thinking, let's be honest. It really should have been Random Penguin instead of Penguin Random House. But now they're Simon and Schuster, and so that's what Sanderson's pointed out, that it should be Penguins, what is it? Simon's Random Penguin should be the name of it. I can't say I disagree. I think that's great. But anyway, his name was brought up essentially in the defense of why the merger should go forward. And it was essentially, hey, Sanderson's over here completely just disrupting the whole scene. I think you could make that argument for like self-publishing, but I really think you got to know your source here, and the source is someone trying to defend an antitrust lawsuit. So they're kind of looking out for themselves and making that statement. You'd be appalled by what people will say in a trial. But that's one of those where I'm going, okay, I'm looking at the source and why and what it's coming from. It's hard to think that I don't know if they actually believe it, right? It's definitely something that they can bring out, and it's definitely, hey, it did a good job. I just think Sanderson alone was going to do that well anyway. Like, okay, so he's done it on his own, but he still has a traditional publisher. Anyway, I just think knowing the source here and where it's coming from and why it's even being stated that Sanderson's this threat to publishing, I have a hard time believing that maybe they really actually think that. Anyway, maybe just too many times in court, people say what they need to say. It's not, it's, you know, and it's like, who can refute that, right? Like, maybe we'll see, I guess. Editing Bryce here. Hey, I just realized this is the thing with news. There's always some more news. Anyway, so Will White, new book, Waybound, in the Cradle series. So was this book 12? Anyway, super exciting. Will White is like clockwork. He's the new Brandon Sanderson, or Brandon Sanderson number 2. I don't know. Anyway, can't wait. How cool. I'm almost caught up, and I'm luckily I don't have to worry and wait too long. So anyway, get excited. All right, jumping on to media. Got a couple bits of media, really the big two, right? The big two right now, if you're not counting MCU stuff, but the big two for the fantasy community, House of the Dragon and Rings of Power, Lord of the Rings. Starting with House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon's second episode got even more viewers than the first. You know, usually a premiere is going to get you the biggest amount, especially on like a follow-up series. So you've got 10 million, approximately, just under 10 million for the first viewers, unless they've changed that. 10 million viewers for the first episode, and we've got about 10.2 is what I understand. So it even went up about a percentage point, and so that's pretty amazing. I mean, it's doing pretty well. And then of course it always keeps getting compared immediately to the Rings of Power, the Lord of the Rings show on Amazon. Now, to jump into my thoughts, I have actually watched the Rings of Power. That was one. I have Amazon Prime. I do not have HBO Max, so I have to figure out how to get a hold of the House of the Dragon. But I do have I have Amazon, so I watched Rings of Power. And frankly, I just, you know, like the elephant in the room is, look at Rotten Tomatoes. The critics are at 84% and the viewers are at 36%, at least at this moment. Is it getting review bombed? Is that even provable? I always have a hard time, like, feels like people say things are review bombed when they're like, don't want to acknowledge that maybe they have a garbage product. It happens. You're gonna, you know, you have these all the time where you have that discrepancy between the critics and the audience. There's a reason why a lot of films nobody's heard of that win Oscars, and then a lot of films that people actually watch are, well, not probably Oscar worthy. But anyway, so I think it inherently makes sense that that there can be this vast divide, right? But at the same time, I watched them, so I can have an actual opinion on it. And I have to say, just a couple thoughts to throw out there. I think first of all, overall, I don't know if it deserves the 36%. So I guess my opinion can be maybe it's getting somewhat review bombed. I think there's some good visuals, especially right off the bat with Valinor, the trees in Valinor. It's a really important part, and it's hard not to go. I know they don't have the rights for the Silmarillion, but they are using a lot of the stories from the Silmarillion. That's why I read it. And so it's hard not to say, okay, they're kind of skirting over. So they'll, instead of going into the real big details, they're going to go into the trees, and this is right from the beginning, so it's not really a spoiler, but the trees dying, you know, and you kind of have Morgoth's kind of silhouette in the background there. You know, they skip over it's the spider Ungoliant that actually does that, but, you know, I get it. They're like, where's the line where we don't want to get sued? That's the line. So I get it. But so I liked it, but it's kind of a cool view of like, that's these trees. I mean, they're so important, these trees, that you have literally the elves kind of consider themselves like the trees that are the elves that have seen the trees in person, and the elves that haven't, and like that's their kind of dividing line for racism, right? Something. I also thought in kind of those opening scenes with they kind of show the masses of people, and then you get Sauron, and it's kind of, you don't get details into space or anything, but I do like seeing Sauron, and it was kind of reminiscent of the first scenes of the Fellowship of the Rings, where we're getting that history, and it's kind of showing just these huge armies and everything. And like I said in my last video about the Silmarillion and the Rings of Power, just the trailer was, that got me with the scene where the elves are fighting orcs, and it was just like, okay, that's it. That's what I wanted to see. That's what I like to see here. And it looked rather realistic, like it wasn't just CGI in that scene. Now I do feel like I'm kind of getting the sense that there is, I don't know, just this overly kind of almost shininess to it, that it's pretty clearly a lot of CGI is getting used here. At the same time, how do you make a place that's supposed to be the most beautiful thing that we couldn't even possibly imagine, and just like film it in real life? It's just not possible, right? So I get you have to use what you have, and of course it's going to be filled with CGI. Anyway, but it's hard. I kind of the practical I kind of more associate with the Lord of the Rings trilogy that I loved, and then if I see too much CGI, and I think maybe this is part of the problem, is you kind of are reminiscent more of The Hobbit that people were less in love with. So anyway, that's a struggle. But overall, I mean, I'm liking, just some of the things that are happening so far with, there's a black elf. I just don't see, I don't know, I just have a hard time like going, speaking of racism, there's like, I just feel like there might just be a vocal minority just like so upset about this. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel like in this day and age, like, I don't know, how do you care about it? I don't know. It is what it is. Why can't we just have people that are in there? I mean, I read somewhere that was like dwarves are actually traditionally black, and so technically the original films were wrong about the dwarves not all being black, because that's kind of because Tolkien was into like following kind of traditional legends and whatnot. One thing I thought was weird was so I like generally the fight scenes. I thought they've been good. They've been entertaining. The the ones on the sea, the ones with the snow troll. So this is a little bit of a spoiler here. I know I said no spoilers earlier, but with the snow troll, here's my problem. There's a couple different issues I have with this. Like, on one hand, in the original trilogy, we go to the Mines of Moria. You've got a number of, you've got an elf, and it's only one elf, I get it. One elf, wizard, some men that are pretty good fighters, right? At least one of them of the Dunedain, so even kind of more manly, no, more elf, or more, I don't know, rugged, I don't know what to call it, but epic, you could say, closer to being an elf, I guess, than a man, and so you've got these kind of, and a wizard fighting a rock troll, a regular troll, and it takes them like a while to take this troll down, and so then you compare that, so they've got that's a rough one, takes time to take a troll down. Then we look at maybe snow troll is different, but now we've got this group that you're kind of, I don't know, I just got the impression that there would be a reason that it's only like 7 people going to track down Sauron, that maybe they're good at what they do and they're chosen for a reason, and they're getting their butts handed to them by the snow troll. And then you have Galadriel steps in, and I don't even think she looked at the troll once, but fought it and just easily took care of it. So here's where my problem is. So the elves, because they're kind of surprised by it, not too much eventually, but the first instance of it, they're surprised by it. I can give them that. That kind of made sense and aligns with the original, took a whole lot of, rugged fighters to take down, plus a wizard to take down a troll. And now these, who I thought were these epic elves sent on this crazy mission, these, warrior elves that are sent to go take down Sauron, or at least track him, and go on these adventures. They're getting their butts handed to them, but then even further, Galadriel just handles it so easily. And so you're like, okay. So my initial in watching this scene was like, okay, so Galadriel's that much better than these guys? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I could see her being better, but it just doesn't add up. It's just like you'd think that they'd be able to put up somewhat of a fight if they're on this trek with Galadriel. But then again, it's like, how is Galadriel so much better than literally not only all of these guys, but also all of, the original trilogy people in the Fellowship, plus a wizard, right? Including a wizard, I should say. So it's, anyway, it's just like none of that added up. And then you just have, like I said, Galadriel not even looking at the snow troll. I mean, half of what she did was a way to be super cool. And then she's fighting it and not even looking at it. And you're just like, I don't know, that just bugs me. I just can't, so we're just into looking super cool in this. And I get it, it's for entertainment, but just what? Anyway, just none of that whole scene added up. It didn't make any sense to me. So I get, anyway, some of that was just and it's hard not to say, I think the huge budget, it's this immediate point of contention that everybody can have, that immediately you go, wait, this is the most expensive thing ever in the history of ever. So I get that. It's still you're still limited by what we have, right? I don't think we can hold everything up to it being, whether it's the most expensive ever. It's still really, just shows it comes down to having a good story. So far, I don't think you can really measure the story itself until we really see the ending. So I think that's really where you kind of have to hold things in advance, see where it's going. I just feel like Mike's book reviews always says, starts to look CW at times, so I'm concerned about that. But I think they're doing a great job with Elrond, the dwarves. I think that whole part is great. This kind of, I actually like the Hobbit creatures, the Harfoots. Really, I think they're going to be some kind of fun, and it is reminiscent of the fun parts of Lord of the Rings. So I am cautiously optimistic right now. I don't think it's deserving the 36% of the audience score, but at the same time, I don't 100% blame people for being a little frustrated with some things. It's going glacially slow right now. So that's hard not to hold against the show too. And another thing I think is pretty cool is the maps. I like following the maps, although it's is it because of the rights issue with the Silmarillion that we're not I don't know, I feel there's missing areas of the maps and we're not shown certain places. I feel like it's just because of the rights issues. It's gotta be, right? I don't know. But I kind of like how they'll blend it with some of the mountains and the scenery as they kind of move to the next area. So, overall, it's got some issues, absolutely. Is it terrible? Is it bad? I don't think so. I'm enjoying it so far. It's been good. And they're getting a lot of things right. They're definitely following kind of the lore, I think, to a good degree, as much as they have. Again, it's this fight with the rights, and that's where it kind of gets to me, where it's almost all right, but if you can't do it to the fullest extent, then what are you doing, right? Clearly, then it's a cash grab, right? Am I wrong about that? So it just feels like if we're talking hey, we got rights to these 3 pages at the end of the Return of the King, and I know it's more than that, but it's this section, so we're going to build a whole thing and we're going to spend all of the money on it because let's be honest, it says Lord of the Rings on it, and it's always done well in the past. So I don't know. That's hard not to just also kind of just be concerned about. So I don't know. I just feel like so far, fine, right? So far it's fine. I've found some issues, but I'm still liking a lot of it, and I like a healthy amount of what I'm seeing, and I really can't give a full judgment until we see where some of these, I mean, we're in the first 2 episodes, so there are things being planted here that may reap great rewards at the end and may not. Who knows? We'll see. So anyway, what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. I know I rambled about this for ages and way too long, but let me know, what are you thinking? Those are just kind of my initial thoughts that I just were sticking out to me in watching this. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I've read the books multiple times. I've read The Hobbit multiple times. I read the Silmarillion now multiple times, and but not really much more than that. Huge fan, and I want this to do well, and you just have a hard time when things don't do well. That are things based on what you love, and I just feel like adaptations have everything against them, and it's only rarely that they really do well. But maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm pessimistic in that regard. But let me know your thoughts. What are you feeling so far? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it the worst thing ever? I want to hear any and all opinions on it. I'm a firm believer in let's talk this through. I am not right about everything. I am wrong about plenty. Happy to admit it in any event, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to try to give a good, thoughtful answer to what I disagree with. So anyway, appreciate your time. Thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.